Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of EETV, where I strive to figure everything in entertainment, episode 10 of Trigun Stampede, named Humanity. And we saw a lot of humanity indeed, so let's not waste any time. I'll review the episode and then go into what I believe is going to happen from here on out. Well, Vash and Wolfwood arrive at the outside of July, and a news report is being reported that says that the stolen plants are in July, and Vash is able to obtain this information because he is listening to the radio report with the earpiece while they're riding to July. Mare and Roberto are still speaking with Sazi the Beast, and Priest William is there, and Sazi tells Knives that he thinks that Sazi tells Roberto and Meryl that Knives thinks that humans cannot use plants correctly. Meryl tells Sazi that the humans are currently finding other ways to live without the plants. William interrupts the conversation and he says that he is doing the same and asks Roberto and Meryl to follow him, so they do. Meanwhile, Vash and Wolfwood are in July, and Vash sneezes and they get noticed by the military police. Vash is accused, when they're cornered, Vash is accused of destroying Genora Rock. One of the officer's parents were in there at that time, and he blames Vash for their death. He shoots Vash, but the military commander said he didn't give the order to shoot. Now pay attention to that scene, because Vash's whole countenance changed, and he did not want to cause that man any pain. So he just left. And then the military police chased him afterwards, but you could see how he takes all these burdens anytime someone is hurt upon himself. And you can, when we get to the next scene, you'll see that the emotional scars that he has also match his physical scars as well. Afterwards, William says that he knows who he's speaking about. Luida is coming up with the project to create flora and to change the environment of No Man's Land, but William says that that will take too long and that he is the answer for saving humanity. We see the room where Nicholas and Livio were experimented on, and afterwards we see that Wolfwood and Vash are hiding in the sewers, and Nicholas sees the injuries Vash has sustained. Now this is how his physical scars match his emotional scars. Vash states that he cannot abandon anyone, even Wolfwood, and then Wolfwood finally realizes that Vash knows why he's here and what his whole mission was. And they still go along with approaching Knives in his base of operations in July. Then it cuts back to where William and Meryl and Roberto are at. And William says his experiments were a failure, and he names all the people that we've seen so far, Nicholas, E.G. the Mine, and the others. And he says that they were all failures because they still hungered and they still thirsted. He's trying to get human beings where the independent plants are, specifically Knives, not needing to consume anything to live. William then also shows Roberto and Meryl clones that have been altered since birth, since he considered all the experiments of the human beings who are already born naturally a failure. William wants to make humanity, to save humanity at any cost, and Meryl says she pities them, which angers Elendira, which is the human plant hybrid that we see. And we find out that she's a hybrid because William says she's neither plant or human. And then what also gives that away is that she has the eyes that a human would have, because her right eye is hazel, which we see in some human beings in the show with hazel eyes, but her left eye is blue, which is the same color as Vash. So she's a plant and human hybrid, which I'm speculating. Now afterwards, after that, she attacks Roberto and Meryl with these knives with these screws that she can just, and they look like screws, or you could say nails, that she can just materialize out of thin air and then kind of use telekinesis to aim those objects that she can materialize at her opponent, which proves what William was saying, because plants have the ability to make things. So you can speculate that her plant ability is to make certain type of metals, and when she makes those metals, she fashions them into what would be a protective weapon for herself, and she chose the nails so she can aim them like projectiles and protect herself. So she attacks William. She attacks Roberto and Meryl, and they get chased down the hall, and they get to an elevator area, and the specific conversation, especially between her and Meryl, which angered her in the first place, is about human beings judging and what they see, and not really getting to know Ilandera for who she is, but they see what they can do and they automatically call her a monster. So she specifically goes and focuses on that's why she hates human beings, because they're so quick to judge only by what they see instead of experiencing the person or the situation, which is very deep. Now when the elevator arrives, because Roberto says they only have to survive until the elevator arrives, and the elevator arrives and Nicholas jumps out the elevator aiming his weapon, and he takes out all of Ilandera's her nails and shoots them all down. Vash tells Roberto and Meryl to get into the elevator, and they leave, and then Ilandera is upset that Nicholas is shooting down all her projectiles, and she attacks him, but he shoots down her projectiles again. And there was a special moment there, because of course they know each other, because Nicholas is a member of the Eye of Michael, but also that little exchange they had, you can see Nicholas' personality is starting to change a little bit, and he just nudges her head with the weapon and was like, maybe we'll get along after all. And it's like kind of like they have a brother, little brother, big brother, little sister relationship. But also when Vash goes to speak with Ilandera, finds out, she dislikes him because of the things that Knives said Vash put him through. And she specifically says that he's a traitor and don't touch her, because she states that, Lord Knives is, and she stops herself, which you can kind of easily figure out with the sentence that, Knives was really, really hurt to what Vash did to him. And you can see that in the previous episode, how he went through almost like ambivalence on his face, because Vash had, he takes this as Vash betraying him, siding with the humans. And Knives has vocalized that, especially around Ilandera, and we could see that Knives still loves Vash, but he's just trying to put things back in order from his own twisted perspective. We find out, and I knew this was going to happen because I predicted in my previous video that Roberto was going to be killed, and I knew something happened to him, because after he got on the elevator, you didn't see him. They just focused on Meryl, and they focused on Vash seeing each other through the glass door of the elevator. And I said, oh no, Roberto was hit. And I knew it. Roberto was hit, and we saw him. He was impaled through the stomach by one of Ilandera's nails. Now what makes this significant is that Ilandera broke her concentration after she finished fighting Nicholas de Wolfwood, and she was no longer manifesting the nails. So her concentration was broken, and also she was injured, and she cried like a little baby, which I found kind of hilarious after that serious situation. But it shows that whatever she manifests, even if her concentration is broken, it stays. Proven, just like we said before, what William said about her not being quite a plant and not quite a human, but just like the same power that the plants have, whatever she's able to manifest becomes real, and it's there. So the nails has impaled Roberto. He's laying dying on the floor of the elevator, and he gives Meryl the Derringer, and she grieves for him as she takes the weapon, and how she says she's sorry, and he tells her whatever she do, it's up to her before he dies, that she can run, she can fight, that she's in charge now. Now you can see how she says that, Meryl says that it was her fault. And proof of this, to have more symbolism to show that it was her fault, when she finishes wiping her face from the tears, his blood is on her face. Some really powerful imagery. So she opens up the Derringer, checks that the 2 bullets are in there, and closes it, and pushes the button for the same floor that she had exited and was saved by Wolfwood and Vash earlier. And she's going back up to confront Elendera and to see what's going on with Vash. Now afterwards, Nicholas takes Vash to see Knives, and he said, I don't know why somebody's in such a hurry to die, but hey. And he knew that this was the end. So basically what I said in my earlier video was right, that, you know, Wolfwood was just the bodyguard, the babysitter, whatever you want to call him, and he was there to make sure that Vash was not killed while making his way to Knives, because Knives knew that Vash is selfless and just puts himself out there all the time, and we can see this through his physical scars. Afterwards, Nicholas leaves Vash before he goes into the room, and Vash enters the room with Knives. Knives tells Vash that he doesn't even like the humans, and he doesn't, well, not like them, but he doesn't love the humans. He's not doing this out of love. He's just doing this to make up for what happened 150 years ago, that he's trying to atone for what happened. This rattles Vash and puts him off guard. Then we cut to see what Wolfwood is doing, and he's there with William. William states that he's completed his contract with the Eye of Michael, and if you read, I paused it and I read the contract, and if you read it closely, it just says, like any other contract that you've seen, that, you know, I hereby, William and Nicholas D. Wolfwood, his contract is complete, and the Eye of Michael will no longer select subjects from the Hopeland orphanage or the surrounding area for the pilgrimage. That means all the experiments that they're doing. And then there is a thumbprint in blood inside of the symbol of the Eye of Michael, and you got to pause it right as soon as the scene begins, because you'll see Nicholas D. Wolfwood's signature on the left side of the paper, saying that he agrees to all these terms if he completes his mission. And then on the right hand side, you see William's terms and his signature, making this whole thing binding, that the Eye of Michael will no longer take subjects from the Hopeland orphanage or the surrounding area. Right before he leaves, William asks Wolfwood, was he able to lay down his cross? And Nicholas responds and says, what about you? So both men are just like Vash, and if you haven't been paying attention, everybody's trying to make up for the mistakes or atone for things that happened. You know, Wolfwood is atoning for and trying to protect the children from being selected from that area. So yes, he has to do horrible things, but he's taking it upon his shoulders to carry the cross and go and deal with all these things so no one else has to. Vash is putting himself constantly in harm's way over a century and a half because he doesn't want to see anybody else get hurt, because he blames this whole thing on himself. And Priest, you can call him Priest William. Priest William has also taken on this tremendous burden of constantly sacrificing the few to save the many. So we see a lot of religious symbolism here, and I think they did an awesome job in doing it. So now we get to see the picture of Knives when he was much younger, and also William. And William was trying to live under an AKA, Count Vasquez, and because I guess everybody's trying to atone for what they did and live a new life, and that is the story so far. But I also have to say this: William has he puts a lot on his shoulders, because he says his atonement is unending. Afterwards, we see Knives and Vash speak about the humans, and Knives hits the organ in a specific key and activates his trap, and just like an old-timey villain, the trap activates and the hole opens up underneath the hero, and he falls, but he's used his climbing wire that he received with his upgrade, and he's able to save himself. But while he's there, Knives comes there and cuts the wire, and before he does so, he said he wants to turn makes Vash into the perfect independent. Even he wants to turn him into the perfect independent, even if he has to be reborn. And he cuts the wire, and Vash goes into the liquid. Now, I don't know if it's water or not, but it's clear. Now, a lot of religious undertones there, and I would say that because what do they call that? I mean, I'm just asking a rhetorical question. I know what it's called, but I'm just throwing it out there in case when you're listening to this. What do they call that when someone falls and they're able to grab onto something and save themselves? They call it the lifeline. So Vash is hanging on to his lifeline, his old life. Knives cuts his lifeline. He falls into the water because he said he wants to make him into the perfect independent, make him even. Like him, like even balanced, because he considers Vash being off balance. So Vash is literally being baptized to be more like Knives. And that is another prediction I made in my previous video, because if you go back to episode 9, when they had the backstory, when they were still on the siege ship in outer space, when Knives was playing the piano and then Vash joined him, they were in sync. And I said before, now they're out of sync, and Knives does not like that he's out of sync with his twin brother. So he's literally trying to put everything back, and he's doing that through an evil baptism, dropping Vash into the water. And I do think I think Vash's gate is going to activate again, and it's going to be all hell breaking loose. Episode 11 is going to be a doozy, and I can't wait for it. Sorry for the lateness with that. Life happens, but I will be uploading more frequently. What I'll be trying to do with this channel is to upload at least between 2 or 3 times a week. Focus on anime, and I'm also going to be reviewing comics that no one seems to be speaking about. Went to my local comic book store today, and I picked up the second issue of Last of the Barbarians from Image, and I'm liking it so far, so I'm going to review that in an upcoming video if you want to check that out. Well, before I close this out, you know, I think we're going to see something different in this, and I'm glad they're doing it because everything seems. But I'll say this: I think Wolfwood's going to come back and save Vash, and I also believe that if she's not killed, then she'll be gravely injured, and then she's going to be seeking revenge on Meryl with our plant-human hybrid Elendira. She's going to be there. Now I'll just take a stab at this because I miss Millie, one of my favorite characters from the original adaptation. Now I'm just going to throw this out here. I'm not sure if I'm right or not. I'm just going to throw this out here. Now, what if Elendira and Meryl get into a fight and Meryl is able to kill Elendira? And then during the process of the fight, then one of the other hybrid plant humans is released, and that plant hybrid human would possibly be the new incarnation of Millie Thompson. I'm just throwing that out there. Because it could happen, because they're artificially aged, so I could see, you know, something happen, and then we'll get this really, really tall plant human hybrid, and that'll be Millie Thompson, because now we have Meryl more into her role now, because even though she doesn't have a lot of Derringer, she has her Derringer now, and she has the will to fight like in the first adaptation, because her senior Roberto De Niro has been killed. Rest in peace, Roberto. It was nice to have him around. Now, one thing I do want to have a quick conversation in the comment section. Before Roberto died, before he was impaled by Elendira's nail, Meryl asked him, "How did you know that they were coming up there on the elevator?" You know, he said, "Just call it a hunch." I think it might be a little bit more to this. I don't know. So I'm going to take another stab at this. I may be wrong with this. I think Roberto, I know he's the oldest, with the exception of Vash and Knives, you know, being older than that because they're plants. But I'm talking about, I think Roberto is older than when he lets on, and that he was, you know, everybody's from the seed ship, but I think he has been in cold sleep more than once and just decided to do something different. And just like how this whole episode was about rebirth and changing in life and sacrifice and everything like this, I think Roberto used to live a completely different life and was a top-ranking scientist, and just said, forget it, man, I just want to take it easy now. So he found a job as a reporter and just decided to, instead of atoning like other people was doing, since he didn't really cause a lot of pain and sorrow, what do people who have a lot of pain and sorrow do, but they don't have necessarily either the capability to fight back, or they don't want to fight back because they don't want to cause more pain and sorrow? They self-medicate. And that's what Roberto was doing. He was self-medicating with his alcohol in his flask, telling Meryl all the time not to take it so easy. Why you want to risk your life? You know, there's no reason for you to do this. Life is for living. Just relax. You're going too hard. That was his whole thing throughout these 10 episodes. And then anytime something new came along or something needed to be explained, he was the one to explain it. And I think that we're going to get a sneak peek into who he was a little bit later on, that Meryl's going to, that she's going to learn more about him. Because I think there's more than what was said about him. I think that prediction that I said may be true. Well, tell me what you think. Like, share, and subscribe if you feel like it. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody.